I just realized after making my last video that even though this is like the 7th video, I still haven't properly introduced myself. So, hello! I am Ash and welcome to this video. Recently, I put out a video on the day that I got a COVID positive result, and afterwards I felt really bad for putting this video out. Not just because it was quite a negative video, but someone commented on it saying that I was living their greatest nightmare, and to be completely honest, it was also my greatest nightmare. And I just hope that by sharing that video I didn't scare the shite out of everyone, and that wasn't my intention at all. So in this video, I just wanted to talk a bit about how COVID played out for me, given a 3-week update and some tips on how to get through the acute phase of the virus. But I'll be honest, having COVID on top of everything else I was dealing with was both mentally and physically pretty horrendous. For the reasons that I explained in my last video, so I'll not go into it. But all things considered, I think I moved through the acute phase of the virus pretty quickly. At the minute, I am struggling with some lingering fatigue, but I think that's more related to the issues I was struggling with before getting COVID. So to me, it kind of feels like COVID has passed, but the strain that it put on my body while I was already recovering from another virus, it's sort of caused what feels like a bit of a crash. But like I said, all things considered, I'm not in as bad a state as I would have expected. So overall, this is how COVID has played out for me the past 3 weeks. The first 1 to 2 days sort of felt a little bit like a standard crash, like I'd just overdone it a bit, and I assumed that was just from the party that I'd been at. So I was just really tired and headachy and just the usual crash symptoms. Day 3 felt like a really sudden flu. I had such a blocked nose that it felt like I was wearing a snorkeling mask. So I just felt really fluey. And then day 4 to 5 is when I had a fever, a high temperature, and I was just so shivery and sweaty. At night, I was really struggling to sleep because I was so cold, but then waking up really sweaty. Then day 6 to 7 was interesting. This is what I call the false recovery buzz, because for some reason when the fever ended, I was buzzing and I was in such a good mood, and I felt so much better. So I was like, this is it, it's past, I have survived the plague. But that was not to be the case. On day 8, I suffered what I am going to call the COVID hangover. And that is still lingering a little bit. So currently things have been very up and down, but it is slowly improving, and I wouldn't say that I've gone back to square one. So these are my tips for getting through the acute phase of COVID. Number 1, rest, rest, rest. I hate that word. But at the start of a virus, this is the crucial time in preventing post-viral fatigue. I already know this because I've been through this with another virus and I did not rest. I just kept pushing, and that is why I am still here in this mess. I feel like the 10-day isolation should come with every flipping virus, because if it did, like honestly, if I had had a 10-day isolation when I had Ross River virus, I probably would have recovered way earlier. I feel like those early days were definitely when I caused the most damage. And when I say rest, I don't mean lying and scrolling through social media, and I am the worst for this. So I had to put a ban on myself for 24 hours off social media. I just logged out of Facebook and Instagram and just said, right, 24 hours, I'm not going on, I'm gonna properly rest. And I said it in my last video, but doing fuck all is very important. This time round with COVID, I just allowed myself the time to recover. I think because I know the consequences of not doing this. So yeah, I just try to do as little as possible. Tip number 2, meditation. This kind of goes in with rest, but meditation really helped me during this time. I was meditating about twice a day in the acute phase. There's tons of evidence to show that meditation can improve your immune system and help it heal more efficiently. I use an app called Insight Timer, and it's really handy because you can search by time. So I would do about 20 to 30 minutes meditation, and then it comes up with loads of meditations, so it's great. And along the same lines, I was doing the Wim Hof breathing method. It's a pretty intense method of meditation, but I find that it has a really deeply relaxing effect on me. And having COVID on top of everything, I found to be a really stressful experience. I think just because I was already having postviral fatigue, and so I needed something pretty intense to like change my state of mind during that. And I found that the Wim Hof method really helped me just change my state of being, if that's the right way to put it. So it was a bit more intense. It kind of just like knocked me out of, like when I was starting to feel a bit panicky, thinking, oh, what if I never get out of this? What if this is me again for another 2 years? So it is pretty intense, but I'll share a link on the description of this video if that's something you want to try. Tip number 3, letting the fever happen. This is a weird one, but in Dr. Sarah Myhill's book, she talks about how symptom suppression with drugs is not a good idea, because although they help with temporary respite, it can make the recovery process more difficult and longer. She explains that symptoms such as pain and fatigue are to make us rest so the immune system has enough energy to deal with the infection. And a fever kills microbes, and coughs, sneezes, runny noses, they help expel microbes as well. So I tried to avoid paracetamol as much as I could during the day, and I even spent 45 minutes a day in the sauna blanket just to try and encourage the fever and, I don't know, sweat out those toxins. I feel like every single video I have to reference my sauna blanket somehow. And number 4, also very important, is sleep, and also something I really struggle with. Sleep has been an ongoing battle for me since I came out of the womb, literally. Generally, I try to avoid using sleeping tablets, but in the case of when I was recovering from COVID, I just knew that the cons of not sleeping would outweigh the cons of using something to get the sleep. So I used Boots sleeping tablets. I'll post a link to the exact ones because I can't remember what they are, but it did help me sleep, and it was so essential because if I get into a cycle of not sleeping, especially when I'm recovering from something, it's just a recipe for disaster. Tip number 5, food. I really struggle with appetite when I'm not feeling good, and also I struggle to have the energy to cook as well when I'm feeling really crap. So during the COVID recovery phase, I was eating a lot of banana and Huel smoothies. this literally kept me alive, and I'm going to put out a video on the recipe that I used just because it really helped me. So I'll talk about that a bit more in that video. Number 6 is titled just Ricky Gervais. I swear, he got me through my isolation period. Laughing is scientifically proven to be good for your health. And I keep hearing of this one guy that recovered from some sort of incurable disease by laughing. I read this story in 2 separate books. So yeah, and in the time I had off work, which was only 2 days, probably not long enough, but I watched all his shows that was on YouTube and Netflix, and it really helped just take my mind off everything. He's flippin' brutal, but I love him. And tip number 7, I'm just gonna put this in because it's one of those things, you never know if it actually does help, but a multivitamin, everyone says it helps. I emailed the Optimum Health Clinic when I found out I had COVID, just to get some tips from them, and they also said take a multivitamin or something with lots of vitamin C. And obviously there's been loads of research out there to suggest that it's good for the immune system. So yeah, this is something I was already doing this anyway. I'm taking an absolute shitload of vitamins and supplements, and but yeah, who knows if it helps, but I did it anyway. So now that I am over the acute phase, I'm just being really careful not to overdo it, and I'm just trying to pace things. I'm going back to sort of my pacing chart of walking, increasing walks, which is flipping the most frustrating thing ever. I'm not gonna lie, like some days I'm positive and then some days I just want to smash things because it's flipping frustrating having worked from nothing to get to where I was when I was talking about these things in the October update, to then have to go back again and start pacing and going through that cycle again. But it is what it is. And I recently put out a quote from Sarah Myhill's book. I swear I talk about her too much, but she talks about having, if you have 49% of the package in place for recovery, then you are on a downward spiral, whereas if you have 51% in place, then you are in recovery. And the way I see it is it's a little bit like scales in a way. So I find that a little bit like a spiral, actually, that's a better term. So I find that if I'm going through a crash, say, or like with COVID, if I'm not sleeping as well, then my ability to exercise is less. And because my exercise is less, then I'm sleeping bad. And then because I'm sleeping bad, I exercise less. And then I'm generally feeling worse. And it's just a slippery slope down. Whereas just before COVID, I was getting in a really good not slippery slope going up. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, like when I was starting the running, I was exercising more and sleep was improved for like the first time in forever. And because I was sleeping better, I was feeling better, and I had more energy to make good food, so I was eating better, and it was just an upward spiral. So I know what I need to do. I need to get back on this upward spiral, and I think I'm gonna start focusing on sleep again. I'm starting to walk again. But yeah, just to end on something positive, I'm gonna end on a couple of silver linings that has come with this whole experience. First silver lining, catching COVID when I'm already 2 years into a post-viral illness was literally my greatest fear. Like I said at the start, like I was so fearful of catching COVID, and now it's happened. So I don't need to stress about that. I don't need to fear that anymore. That big lump of fear in my brain is gone. And funny enough, like when I was in my isolation period and the postman came and dropped off some stuff, and obviously I didn't answer the door, but when he went away, I went, grabbed the box, brought it in, and thought, oh, I need to wash my hands straight away in case I catch COVID. And then I was like, oh yeah, I already have it. But obviously, like, wash my hands anyway. But it's just, it's I can sort of relax a little bit. Like the other day, I went to my very first gig I've been to in a very long time, and I know in the run up to that, I was sort of worried a little bit, thinking, oh, you know, is it worth the risk in case I catch COVID? But obviously, you know, it's too late for that. So I went to the gig and I could relax and not worry about COVID. And also, lastly, I probably am more prepared for having COVID than the majority of people after having been through a serious virus such as Ross River. So at least I had lots of tools, and it's given me a chance to practice them. So yeah, and like I said, all things considered, even though I'm very frustrated and things aren't as good as I want them to be right now, it definitely could have been a lot worse. So I'm thankful that I had my vaccine. I think that really helped, and yeah, I just need to pick myself up and dust myself off and just keep going, doing the things I know that works, and that's about it really. So maybe I'll do, I don't know, maybe I'll do an update in another few weeks, and hopefully by then I can be like, it's all done, I've survived, and yeah. So that's about it. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.